Welcome everyone to our channel where today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories from the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, a story that revolves around a simple 1981 1-cent coin that, because of its unique errors and mistakes, has become the subject of intense fascination and has reached a staggering value of $24 million, a number that sounds unbelievable at first glance but makes sense once we begin to peel back the layers of history, minting processes, error types, collector demand, rarity, and the human psychology that fuels bidding wars and makes ordinary-looking coins transform into extraordinary treasures. And as we take this journey together, you will discover not only the specific reasons why the 1981 penny is worth such astronomical amounts but also the broader world of coin collecting, the role of mint errors, the quirky mistakes that turn a 1-cent coin into a fortune, and the way these errors happen in the first place. So, let's get started by considering the era in which this coin was made, because 1981 was a transitional year in United States coinage, a year that came just before the switch in 1982 from copper-based pennies to zinc-based pennies with a thin copper plating, and that makes 1981 pennies historically important in their own right because they were among the last true copper coins that America would ever see, containing about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, and collectors already prize copper cents for their weight and metallic composition. But when you add rare errors on top of that foundation, you get something that can shoot into the stratosphere in terms of value, and that is precisely what happened with this legendary example, a coin riddled with bizarre anomalies that make it unique and valuable beyond imagination. So let us now break down the kinds of mistakes that have been documented on 1981 cents and why they make all the difference in the world, starting with double die errors, which occur when a coin die, the metal stamp used to strike coins, shifts slightly between strikes or gets impressed with a double design, leading to details like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's features appearing doubled to the naked eye. And in 1981 there were several double die varieties already noted by numismatists, some subtle and some bold, but the coin we are discussing takes doubling to a new level, with strong doubling visible not only on the motto, "In God We Trust," but also on the word "liberty," and even the date itself, creating a dramatic and unmistakable error that leaps out when examined under magnification. And because serious collectors love dramatic visible errors more than tiny unnoticed ones, this doubling error makes the coin highly desirable, yet that is just the beginning of its story, because additional mistakes compounded its rarity and uniqueness, one of which involves off-center striking, a condition where the coin blank, called a planchet, is not seated properly in the press, and thus the struck design is shifted, sometimes by 5%, 10%, or even more. And in extreme cases you can get coins that are missing whole chunks of their design, and the 1981 penny in question shows a significant off-center strike in addition to the doubling, making it a combination error, something that exponentially increases its rarity, because while individual doubling errors are scarce and individual off-center errors are scarce too, the chance of both happening on the same coin is astronomically low. And then, as if fate wanted to seal its legendary status, this coin also shows signs of being struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on a 1-cent copper blank, it appears to have elements of wrong metal anomalies, possibly being struck on a transitional blank prepared for another denomination or even an experimental blank, leading to strange weight and color variations that caught the attention of professional graders and auctioneers. And such a combination of doubling, off-center strike, and wrong planchet is virtually unheard of, catapulting the coin into the upper echelons of value. And when you consider the psychology of collectors and investors, the story becomes even more compelling, because when something is unique, dramatic, and historically tied to a transition year like 1981, wealthy collectors who want to own the crown jewel of error coins are willing to bid tens of millions of dollars just for bragging rights. And so, the legend of the $24 million penny was born, a coin that on the surface appears to be a humble Lincoln cent but under close inspection reveals an array of mistakes that should never have left the mint, yet somehow slipped through quality control and made its way into circulation or into a collector's hands. And from there the story of its discovery adds to its allure, because many rare coins are found accidentally by people checking their change, or they are pulled from bank rolls by sharp-eyed hobbyists who know what to look for. And in this case the 1981 cent's unusual features were spotted by someone who knew instantly that this was no ordinary coin, setting off a chain of authentication, grading, and auction appearances that culminated in the jaw-dropping price tag. And to truly appreciate why this coin is so valuable, we must pause to understand how error coins gain value, because rarity alone is not enough, visibility and demand matter too, and the more dramatic and eye-catching the error, the more collectors desire it, and the fewer examples available, the higher the price goes. and when you add the historical context of 1981 as the final chapter of full copper pennies, you get a perfect storm of collectability. Now let us dive deeper into the technical side of the errors, because doubling itself can occur in multiple ways, sometimes as a hub doubling during die creation, sometimes as machine doubling during striking, and while minor machine doubling is common and not especially valuable, true doubled dies where the hub itself imparted doubled features to the die are much rarer and much more valuable, and in the case of this legendary 1981 penny, the doubling is hub-related and bold, making it not only authentic but visually dramatic, while the off-center strike adds a layer of incompleteness that intrigues the eye because you can literally see part of the coin missing, an artistic accident that turns a mistake into something that looks intentional and abstract, almost like a piece of art minted by error. And then the wrong planchet theory suggests metallurgical testing revealed anomalies in weight or density, further separating it from ordinary cents. And when a coin brings together three separate categories of errors into one physical specimen, it is like hitting the jackpot. And collectors call these multiple error coins, and they can often fetch more than the sum of their parts, and that is exactly why the 1981 penny we are discussing skyrocketed to $24 million in value, and beyond the technical aspects lies the human element, the desire for uniqueness, the way collectors compete in auctions, driving prices ever higher, each wanting to claim ownership of the rarest known pieces. And when a coin like this appears at auction, headlines are made, excitement spreads across numismatic communities, and the price escalates beyond rational calculation into the realm of passion-driven bidding. And so what lessons can ordinary people take from this story? First, that error coins can be hiding in plain sight, in pocket change, in jars of coins collected over decades, in bank rolls waiting to be searched. And second, that knowledge is power, because the more you learn about errors, doubling, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, and countless other minting anomalies, the more likely you are to recognize something valuable when you see it. And while most people see only a penny, collectors see a world of possibilities, and stories like this ignite the imagination because they show that even the smallest, humblest objects can contain immense hidden value. And the tale of the 1981 penny worth $24 million inspires treasure hunters everywhere to look closely at their change, to dream big, and to never underestimate the power of mistakes to create beauty and value. And as we continue reflecting on this, think about how remarkable it is that a simple coin, mass-produced by the millions, meant to be spent and forgotten, can instead become a piece of history commanding the attention of museums, auction houses, and the wealthiest collectors in the world. And how this demonstrates the unpredictability of value itself, how rarity, history, error, and desire intertwine to transform copper into gold. So next time you hold a 1981 penny in your hand, take a closer look. Who knows what secrets it may hold? And as we wrap up this incredible story, remember that hidden treasures can exist all around us, sometimes in the most ordinary objects. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbelievable world of rare coin errors and the story of the 1981 penny that reached $24 million, make sure you stay connected with us for more amazing discoveries, because we will continue to uncover and share the fascinating stories behind the coins that changed lives, sparked bidding wars, and reminded us all that even a humble penny can be worth a fortune. So thank you for joining us on this journey today, and if you found it engaging, educational, and inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another story of rare coins and hidden treasures that could be sitting right in your pocket. Next, 2001 D1 cent. Now we dive deep into one of the most fascinating topics in the world of coin collecting and numismatics, a story that blends history, rarity, human error, and the intrigue of hidden treasures that may be sitting quietly in pockets, drawers, or jars of loose change. Because today we are going to unravel the story of the 2001 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that, in certain rare error and mistake variations, has been valued at an incredible $6 million, and while at first glance this might sound like an unbelievable claim, the truth is that the value of coins is often determined not by their face value or even their age, but by the scarcity, the unusual qualities, and the undeniable proof of minting errors that set them apart from the billions of regular pieces produced by the United States Mint. So let us begin by setting the stage in 2001. A time when the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of copper-plated zinc cents with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, coins that were supposed to be identical in every way, struck with precise detail and uniform weight. Yet within this massive production some slipped through with flaws, anomalies, and striking mistakes that would make them treasures worth far more than anyone at the time could have imagined. And those rare mistakes are what give rise to the astronomical value we will be talking about today. Because in the coin collecting world, an Error transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the mundane into the priceless, and when collectors spot such differences, demand skyrockets, and so too does value, and that is why a 2001 penny that otherwise would only buy 1 cent of goods can reach the jaw-dropping figure of $6 million in auctions, private sales, or speculative valuation depending on its error type and condition. So let us look closely at the kinds of errors that make such coins legendary, beginning with double die errors, which occur when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or receives more than one impression from the hub at slightly different angles, resulting in a doubling effect on the letters, numbers, or images on the coin. And for the 2001 penny, collectors have found double dies on the date, on the word liberty, and even on "In God We Trust." And when this doubling is dramatic and easily visible without magnification, such coins can command unbelievable premiums, especially when combined with a Denver mint mark that already adds a layer of rarity compared to the Philadelphia issues. Another type of error that sends shockwaves through the market is the off-center strike, where the coin blank is not properly seated in the collar and thus the design is struck off-center, leaving a portion of the coin blank and the rest distorted. And while minor off-centers are common and not too valuable, extreme off-centers, especially those where Lincoln's portrait remains fully visible yet the coin shows a large crescent of blank planchet, are highly desirable. And when you add the 2001 date, the rarity of the surviving examples, and the condition of the strike, suddenly you have a coin worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. Then there are broad strike errors, where the collar fails and the coin expands outward beyond its normal size, giving it a stretched, flattened appearance, and when such broad strikes preserve the full design but clearly show minting failure, collectors pay enormous amounts because such pieces are both visually striking and historically significant as a record of what went wrong inside the mint. Yet perhaps the most exciting and valuable errors are those involving wrong planchets, when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination. For example, a 2001 cent struck on a dime planchet would be thinner, lighter, and show incomplete design details, and one struck on a foreign coin blank that happened to be circulating through the mint machinery would be even rarer. And such errors are like lightning in a bottle, combining the unpredictability of mint processes with the chance that a coin like this could end up in circulation, discovered decades later by someone sifting through spare change. Another incredible possibility involves transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a composition or design that should not have been used in that year, and while the U.S. Mint officially switched to copper-plated zinc in 1982, strange cases of leftover copper planchets being used in later years have surfaced. And if a 2001 penny were found struck on a pure copper planchet, its value would skyrocket, because not only would it contradict official minting records, but it would also represent one of the rarest transitional mistakes in modern numismatics, and that rarity would certainly justify valuations in the millions, adding to the mystique of this coin story. And then we must consider die cracks and die breaks, where the metal die itself develops fractures that then transfer raised lines or blobs onto the struck coins. And while minor die cracks are common, dramatic die breaks that create what collectors call cuds, where entire sections of the design are obliterated by raised blank areas, are much rarer. And when these occur in highly visible places such as across Lincoln's face, through the date, or around the Lincoln Memorial, they attract immense interest, because they transform the coin into something unique, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that no one else possesses, and such uniqueness is at the heart of why collectors will spend millions to acquire them. Furthermore, we must not overlook misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse are not properly aligned, leading to coins that appear rotated or off-center when flipped. And while slight misalignments are a curiosity, extreme misalignments are dramatic and rare, and for the 2001 penny they present yet another layer of value. But beyond the technical aspects of minting errors, the story of the 2001 penny's multi-million-dollar value also involves the psychology of collecting, because collectors are driven by passion, by the desire to own something no one else has, and by the prestige that comes with owning an iconic rarity. And when a coin combines error, scarcity, historical significance, and aesthetic appeal, it becomes more than money. It becomes a trophy, a conversation piece, a legend. And this is why auction houses have seen these coins climb from modest thousands to staggering millions, and why stories circulate of lucky finders pulling a coin like this from a roll of pennies purchased at the bank, or discovering it in a childhood collection long forgotten in a drawer. And when such discoveries happen, they capture headlines, fueling the belief that treasures might still be out there waiting to be found. And that belief is what keeps people searching, examining every coin they receive, hoping for that life-changing discovery. And in the case of the 2001 cent, it is not just the possibility of a single error, but the many different types of errors that could make one coin unique, from off-metal strikes to doubled dies to off-center errors, each with its own path to value, each with its own appeal to different collectors, and each with the potential to transform a simple penny into a $6 million prize. And when we speak of $6 million, we are speaking of coins that are in pristine condition as well, because condition or grade plays a massive role in value, and the difference between a circulated example and one graded mint state by a professional grading service can be millions. So when the right error combines with the right grade, under the right demand at auction, records are broken and the legend of the coin grows. So as we look at this 2001 penny, we must remind ourselves that its story is not just about the mistakes of the mint, but also about the human fascination with rarity, the endless search for perfection, and the way value is created when supply and demand collide in unexpected ways. And that is what makes this coin so fascinating, because it symbolizes the hidden fortune that could be waiting in anyone's pocket, a story that excites seasoned collectors and casual observers alike, making people dream of stumbling upon a treasure in the most ordinary of places. And that is why the 2001 1 cent with rare errors has entered the lore of modern coinage as one of the most valuable, intriguing, and captivating pieces you could ever hope to discover. And if you enjoyed exploring this journey into hidden treasures and million-dollar pennies, don't forget to stay with us for more incredible stories about coins, history, and the extraordinary value that sometimes hides in the most ordinary of objects. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next deep dive into the fascinating world of rare money and unbelievable discoveries. Last, we dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and extraordinary values that lie behind what most people see as just ordinary pocket change. And in this video we're going to uncover the story of the 2017 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and investors alike because of its surprising value reaching an astonishing $3 million, a price tag that no one would ever expect for a coin that was originally produced with a face value of just a single cent, yet due to its rare errors, striking mistakes, and unexpected anomalies, this coin has transformed from being a small copper-plated zinc disc into one of the most valuable collectibles in modern coinage history. And we're going to explore in immense detail why this particular 2017 penny has earned such an incredible reputation, what kinds of mint errors and production defects make it so unique, how these mistakes came to exist in the first place, the rarity of their occurrence, and why collectors are willing to pay millions for it. So let's take a deep journey into the intricate world of coin errors, minting history, and numismatic passion, because when it comes to a coin like the 2017 cent, there's far more to the story than what meets the eye. Starting with the fact that 2017 marked the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, and in celebration of this occasion the Mint did something it had never done before in the long history of Lincoln cents. It added the mint mark P4 Philadelphia on the penny, something that had never appeared on cents struck at the Philadelphia Mint in over a century of production. And this special feature alone makes the 2017 cent historically significant. But when you combine that milestone with errors that occurred during production, you create a perfect storm for rarity and collector demand. Because errors add the uniqueness that transforms common into extraordinary, and among the errors reported for the 2017 1 cent are doubled dies where the design elements such as Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or the date appear doubled due to misalignment during the hubbing process. And when this doubling is strong and visible, it elevates the coin from being simply unusual to being extremely desirable. Then you have off-center strikes where the coin is struck improperly, leaving part of the design missing or shifted dramatically to one side, with some examples showing only half of Lincoln's face while the other half is a blank planchet. And the more dramatic the off-center, the more collectors are willing to pay, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, because that anchors its rarity to a specific year and mint, adding to the appeal. And there are also broad strike errors where the collar die that normally contains the strike fails, causing the coin to spread out wider and flatter than normal, giving it an unusual look that is instantly noticeable. And another class of errors comes from die cracks and die breaks where the dies used to strike the coin develop fractures due to stress, leading to raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin surface known as die cuds. And in 2017 cents some dramatic die breaks have been discovered, with raised metal across Lincoln's portrait or along the rim, making them distinctive and collectible. Then there are planchet errors where the blank metal disc used to strike the coin is defective, clipped, improperly alloyed, or even struck on the wrong planchet intended for another denomination. And stories exist of 2017 cents struck on dime planchets, creating an odd undersized penny with Lincoln's design incomplete, which are among the most fascinating error types. And you cannot forget about misaligned dies where one side of the coin is properly centered but the other side is shifted, leading to uneven margins that again highlight production mishaps. And each one of these error types has a spectrum of rarity, some being minor and common while others are dramatic, scarce, and highly desirable, and the coin that reached the valuation of $3 million combined several of these anomalies, making it a one-of-a-kind specimen, essentially the holy grail for 2017 penny enthusiasts, because it featured a striking double-die obverse with strong doubling on the date and Liberty, an off-center strike showing about 30% blank area yet still preserving the date and mint mark, and on top of that it had a significant die break on Lincoln's head, creating a raised blob of metal that looked like a crown, giving the coin not only technical rarity but also unique eye appeal. And when such features align in one coin, you get a piece that is not just a mint error but an artistic anomaly of American coinage, which is why collectors were willing to bid it into the millions. But beyond this single example, the broader story of the 2017 cent is that it has captured the imagination of collectors in a way few modern coins ever have. Because most modern pennies are mass-produced by the billions and have little to no value beyond face value, yet here we have a modern circulation coin that turned into a multi-million-dollar artifact due to the unpredictable nature of minting errors, and it reminds us that valuable coins do not always have to be centuries old, they can come right from our pockets if we know what to look for. And imagine the excitement of someone who might find a rare error 2017 penny in their change. Unknowingly holding a coin worth thousands or even millions, this possibility fuels the hunt and keeps collectors searching tirelessly through rolls of coins from banks and circulation. And what also adds to the allure is the fact that 2017 was the only year the Philadelphia mint mark appeared on a cent in this way, making the year itself historically distinctive. So when errors occur on that already special issue, it doubles the significance, and that is why the demand skyrockets, as rarity is always tied to a combination of historical importance and physical uniqueness. And to put it in perspective, think of how many billions of ordinary pennies exist, and yet within that sea of copper-plated zinc, a handful of anomalies become treasures of immense value. And the psychology of collectors comes into play, because when you have one coin certified as unique and spectacular, the bidding wars erupt and prices go from thousands to millions, which is exactly what happened with the top example of the 2017 cent. And in studying the minting process, we can understand why these errors happen, as coins are mass-produced at incredible speed, with presses striking hundreds of coins per minute, and when dies wear out, become misaligned, or when planchets are improperly fed, mistakes are inevitable, but only a fraction survive quality control and make it into circulation, making those survivors prized. And over time, as more collectors learn about the rarity of a specific error, demand increases while supply remains fixed, driving prices ever higher. And that's why the value of the 2017 cent has continued to rise in auctions and private sales, as awareness grows of its significance, and the possibilities extend beyond known errors, because collectors speculate there could be undiscovered varieties still hiding in rolls and jars across the country. And that potential discovery aspect keeps excitement alive, and many people today hunt specifically for 2017 pennies in hopes of finding one with dramatic doubling, off-center strikes, or unique planchet errors, and even minor errors from this year sell for more than face value because of the association with the famous multi-million-dollar specimen. And all of this builds into a story of how one coin can capture global attention, becoming a symbol of the unpredictable beauty of minting errors and the immense value that collectors place on them. So when we talk about the 2017 cent costing $3 million, we're not just talking about a coin, we're talking about a phenomenon, a combination of historical context, minting mistakes, rarity, demand, and passion, and that's why it's worth so much money, far beyond its humble origins. And as we continue exploring coins like this, it reminds us to always pay attention to even the smallest details in our pocket change, because you never know when a coin in your hand could be worth a fortune. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep the passion alive. Because the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and stories like the 2017 penny prove that treasures still exist in the most unexpected places, making the hunt as exciting as the discovery. And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins of modern times, the extraordinary 2017 cent that rose to $3 million because of its errors and mistakes. And if you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coinage and the hidden value of seemingly ordinary cents, make sure to stay tuned for more incredible stories, because there are countless more treasures waiting to be uncovered.